this is the rant portion. I was talking about this on Twitter, or we're talking about the the problem with the comics nowadays, and piggybacking off of what I was just talking about. Comics used to be a soap opera. Comics used to be about these guys that had the powers to move the world, but the woman they loved was just out of reach, and it was impossible for them to get with their leading lady. And nowadays, it's like completely different, the opposite, where we have to have the object of their affection discover their secret identity from the jump. I mean, there used to be such a beautiful, you know, difficulty, dilemma that they couldn't tell their loved one that they were a superhero. They couldn't put them in any danger. But we've completely robbed the genre of that when we've completely destroyed the secret identity, the concept of the secret identity. The secret identity was meant as an insurance to protect the loved one, to protect the girlfriend. And when we lost that, it was just, and the reason why we lost it was because feminism. It was, we can't have the girl looking that stupid. She can't figure out he's Clark Kent because he has glasses on. What is she, stupid? We had a lot of like brilliant thinkers trying to, change the rules of the genre because we had to adapt with the times because the girl looked foolish. But that has nothing to do with that. It's so stupid because it's the same thing with anyone. I mean, Jimmy Olsen didn't know he was Superman because of the glasses, neither did Perry White. So, I mean, trying to use that excuse on Lois, it really doesn't, it doesn't work. But especially Stan Lee. I've got most of the images up from this collage, I guess, of images from work that Stan Lee did. Now, they did it in DC too, but Stan Lee was a master at this. He understood that comics were a soap opera, and that basically you kept people invested because it wasn't just Superman going to the moon and fighting on the moon and coming back, and Batman didn't just beat up the Joker and come back. There was the emotional core to the hero's life. And I think that's what separated Marvel, at least at that point, was that he got very densely into that. And he knew that that was the hook, that you wanted to see these guys do good. The female readers ate it up. The male readers could sympathize. I know how hard it is to get the girl, and the girl wants to be desired by the hero, but it's just a soap opera that goes on, and you can keep feeding it storylines, and it never goes away unless you let it. But the idea is that there's always that strive, there's always that yearning, and there's a reason why the fairy tales end with "and they lived happily ever after," because the idea is that once you've gotten married, once you've started a family and you have kids, you're supposed to hand it off to the next generation because you have other responsibilities. You have other things you need to take care of. You have to take care of your wife. You have to take care of your family. You can't go out there and risk your life every day if you've got a wife and children depending on you. And a lot of people will say, well, what about police and soldiers and firemen? Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a little bit different when you're a superhero because you have a greater responsibility. Of course, as Spider-Man's famous, saying, with great power comes great responsibility, and you have a greater responsibility to the world. And you cannot really devote yourself to a family. And that's where the secret identity came in. It also was that Spider-Man couldn't tell Aunt May. And, in the more recent movies, you've got Aunt May being pretty much a co-conspirator. You know what I mean? She's a partner in some ways because she knew, like, after, what was it, the first solo movie with Spider-Man. And, it's not supposed to be that way. It really is not supposed to be that way. And I feel like there should be a romance in the superhero genre again. There should be sacrifice in the superhero genre again. We have, like, right here, Peter Parker. We were just talking about him. Peter Parker suffered more than pretty much any other hero when he was allowed to, because he couldn't propose to Gwen because she believed Spider-Man killed her father. He couldn't let Mary Jane know he was Spider-Man because he kept ducking out on her and she thought he was crazy, and she ended up always getting fed up with him and going somewhere else. It's kind of the life of a superhero, what it was supposed to be. If only she knew who I really was. I mean, that started way back with Clark Kent. And those early episodes in the late 30s and early 40s, it was always Clark Kent trying to get the eye of Lois. Lois obviously thinking less of him because he was sort of a milksop, as they would say. And she had eyes for Superman because he was strong and heroic. And again, feminism killed all this dead, because then again, it makes the woman look shallow because she's looking towards this, big, beefy guy who's doing all these heroic feats, while the sort of nebbish guy with glasses is sitting back and hoping that she'll at least glance his way once or twice a day during the workday. But again, that was something that was so fundamentally ingrained in comics from the beginning, shepherded in by great writers, including Stan Lee, who was perhaps the greatest writer of them all, particularly in this genre of the soap opera elements in superhero comics. And the sad reality is, the woke era has tainted the minds of the average reader so much that nowadays to see a man pining away for a woman would be seen as simping or white knighting or being a cuck, which this drives me crazy. I honestly have to sidebar the rant to make another rant. Well, can we stop using this kind of language? We got to thank the manosphere for doing this to us. The woke era, basically the anti-woke era, let's put it that way, is sort of an outgrowth of the manosphere, because everything started to be girl bosses and the MCU, and he's a simp, and if you're pining away for the woman you love, that is not being a simp. And for all that's holy, will somebody explain to people what being a cuck actually is? That's when a woman is cheating on her husband and the husband doesn't know. A widow is a man that knows that his wife is cheating and approves of it to some extent. He won't divorce her, he won't let her go, and he sort of has to abide by the wife's cheating. That's exactly what those terms mean. It doesn't mean that Spider-Man loses the girl and, Mary Jane is going off and dating someone else and she's cucking Peter because even though they're not married, she had been in a relationship with him and now she's off having another relationship and Peter has to stand there and watch. That's not being a cuck. For the love of all that's holy, will you please stop using that word, or misusing the word at least? Because it is driving me insane every time I have to see it on Twitter, hear it on YouTube. Please stop. Just stop. Just for now, just stop. And it's the same thing with simping. I mean, simping is like not reserved for being in love with someone and trying to get them to look your way. If that's the case, then there's probably about 5,000 songs from Motown that we can never play again, because in this current age, people will consider it simping. Ain't Too Proud to Beg. I mean, can we even play that song nowadays? Because everybody would call it simping. And, just go down the list, especially Motown, but like all 60s love songs. Even, before that, if you want to go to the big band era, or even through the 70s and 80s, while there was still good music, up until 1990 when there was no good music anymore, there were always love songs. What were the love songs about? I love you, I need you, I can't live without you. We don't have any romance anymore in comics because people have got this kind of impression. It's on the one side, there's the anti-wokies who think that every man pining for a woman is simping. We've got the feminists on the other side, on the woke side, who don't want women to be seen as the desired object for the hero to win. And it's completely killed romance in comics. And that is something to me that's really sad. And it's even spread out through other fiction as well. It's not just comics, but let's focus on that now because we've got so many great comics in the past to look at and to see how well it was done back when it was done. And so again, it's just it's really a sad comment on the times where I don't think it'll ever return to this level. We'll never really have the real soap opera romance in comics anymore, unless you read my comics, which I would uh, generously offer you to do. All right, so with the rant concluded, let me know what you think in the comments below.